While leaders in Africa elected to represent the interests of those who elect them into such positions, it remains very difficult to ascertain high levels of unscrupulous spending levels witnessed during and after campaigns. Regulation of the source of fundings and disbursement of the electoral finances remain critical despite about 19 legislations and provisions available in this country. A day after President Yoweri Museveni was sworn in for his fifth term in office, Ugandans demand for a bill on stringent regulation of electoral financing by individual and political party candidates.
I, Yoweri Museveni, swear in the name of the Almighty God.
According to the Coordinator Africa Freedom to Information Center, Gilbert Sendugwa, he says commercialization of politics in Uganda remain a critical question, but like Senegal, though a developing democracy, access to information on political finances is an regulated and a neglected topic in the legal framework.
Information regarding how individual candidates are funded is also not properly covered. Yet people need to know this information. We've looked at, one of the key findings in the study is that spending has gone high. In fact, in some cases, as high as 10 times compared to the previous elections. But yet, nobody knows where this money is coming from. Nobody knows what is the impact of this spending.
Uganda and Senegal having existing legislations, there are less specific disclosure and transparency in the current era remains undescribed.
Of course, we know right now we have pieces of provisions scattered elsewhere. But when you look at Kenya and Tanzania that have specific laws on election financing, that actually helps us. Because when you look at the laws, they're actually very, if you had a law in place, it becomes very, very detailed as to the exact provisions, as to what exactly amounts to election financing. And that, I think, can go a long way in ensuring that the whole issue of commercialization of politics is to some extent curbed down if such a legislation is.
The critical question to this matter, however, is the result of the lack of such legislations that fuels adequate malpractices, uncontrollable, and influence to the future elections and the democracy of many African states.
Because remember, they would have spent a lot during elections, so guess what? They want to come back and recoup each and every penny that they spent. Now, if we're able to make that connection, then also the members of the public will be able to appreciate where we're coming from. Because at the end of it all, when these guys come and they want to increase their salaries, where is this money coming from? It's coming from the consolidated fund, it's coming from we taxpayers' money, and in the process, who's losing out? As citizens, as taxpayers, we're losing out money to a group of people that want to increase their pay, and yet the money could have been used to improve services, either health or education, or those service or social sectors that help the bigger population.
If citizens have access to information on where their candidates are getting their money from and how their candidates are spending their money, then they can easily then make informed decisions as to whether this candidate is the best candidate for me.
The question of whether there should be a law to track down the growing commercialization of politics in the country, Uganda and Senegal are determined by the response to growing competitiveness and the innovativeness of the actors in the political play to enable the existing legal rights to freedom of information in both countries. In a recent research carried out by the Africa Freedom to Information Center and Article 19 West Africa, Senegal and Uganda legal frameworks are inadequate while the secrecy surrounding the political financing remain perpetual. However, in Senegal, political parties disclose external donations as provided for in the only 1981 legislation on political parties. A case for Uganda, 19 legislations and 10 provisions available continue to grapple with declaring finances sources as provided for in the Electoral Commission Act 2005 and the Presidential Elections Act. Aaron Stavarka, WBS Television in Kampala.